And in California, you know, the home of Hollywood, that's a Democratic state. But even they're smart enough to set aside the politics in Hollywood of, and there's a lot, I mean, there's still politics, right? But at least in that town, when I got up in the morning and my wife went off to do her thing, I would knock on doors, I would make calls, I do it all day, and I'd get meetings. I'd have 5 or 6 meetings a week. I had a meeting at the Beverly Hills Hotel. It was fantastic. And here, you know, it's like you could stand on your head. You could write Good Will Hunting, you know, by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and they'll never read it. They'll never read it. And if they read it, they won't like it because it's not French enough. There's not enough Canadiana in it. Listen, if you want to compete on the world stage in television in this country, you've got to think worldwide audience, and Canadians don't. And the CRTC, you don't want to hear the horror stories I had with that group of idiots. I mean, unbelievable what they put me through. The CRTC, at one point, I actually threatened to quit because I couldn't deal with them anymore. They're just a bureaucratic nightmare. And it's the same is true at movie studios and TV networks in this country. You can't go anywhere. You can't get anywhere because there's so much hoops and crap to crawl through to get to the top guy. And when you finally meet the top guy or gal, he or she's a fucking idiot anyway. They don't have any experience in writing and producing anything with creative. They're all bean counters, and it's never going to work. And that's why, to your point earlier, you've got a handful of Canadian shows that were any good. And that's a hell of a thing for a Canadian to say about the industry, but damn it, it's true. And I doubt you'd find many people that would disagree with me.
Yeah, it just seems like way too many doors.
Oh God.
You know, and they like, I see people that were incredibly talented,
Yeah.
and they there's a reason why Jim Carrey moved to the States. There's a reason why Mike Myers went to the States. A lot of people go, he's Canadian. Those guys are Canadian. Yeah, they all left.
Yeah.
You know, they all left.
I mean, we don't have a big population here, right, Vito? We don't have a market. Like if you make $100 million movie, which is cheap now, if you make $100 movie in Canada, you only got 35 million people in the country. So it's going to be tough to make your money back.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mindset of Canadian producers is that, well, let's just make something cheap on the fly just for Canadians because we know we're going to get smoked.
You get sell it if it's good. I mean, a great example is one of my favorite shows was Beachcombers. That show was shown all over the world.
Yeah.
All over the world. Yeah. So if you do it right, you could sell it to all over the world. A great example also is it Iceland or Finland? Finland. I watch a lot of movies from Finland, and they're small budget, but they're great stories. And they just make movies for them. But
part of the problem is aesthetics, Vito. Like in Los Angeles, well, anywhere in the United States where they're making a movie, it's probably not so much true now. You know, they shoot their movies on film. A lot of Canadian movies are made on, videotape. And that's why Canadian films used to look so hokey, is because it was too bright. And I'll tell you a secret about one of the reasons of why I think Club 54 was successful. Even though we shot it on videotape, we would take a woman's nylon and put it over the lens to make it look slightly grainy, slightly dark, and give it that film look. And if you look at an episode of Club 54 and compare it to other shows, again, very arrogant, ours looks better aesthetically because we made it look grainy. We made it look American. And Canadians, you can always tell a Canadian film, you can always tell a Canadian production based on poor production values, right? I mean, I don't know if you agree with me on that, but can't you tell when you see a Canadian film when it comes on and you watch it? You don't even have to look at the credits. You know it's Canadian, right? It's just and the subject matter too, Vito. You know, we're living in such a PC stupid world. The world's finished as far as I'm concerned, especially in the entertainment industry. Americans will make movies what the market dictates. The film festival, yes, wonderful. Most of the films there that are the big hits made in America. Doesn't that prove the point?
Well, it's like it's funny because if you go to TIFF or anything, it's in Canada. It's like the biggest film festival in Canada.
It's a good one. It's a very
it's
good
all
film.
American. All they show is American. It's like it's all American. Like there's no. You wish. Like, do you remember when? It's funny. Like to get into Just for Laughs. Unless I was, I felt like my wife's like, why don't you just tell them you're from Switzerland or something,
or Quebec?
Yeah, something where, you know, because they're not going to look at you. Right. For some reason, the Canadian way is, you know, we don't look at our guys the same way. We just we go to other. I don't know. We just don't. We either we just don't have the confidence.
Which you're onto something there. You're onto something there.
Why do you need to? You got so much. I know 33 million is not a lot of people, but America has 333 million, so they're 10 times, right? 10 times. So, but if you make something good, you can still sell it in the States. You can still sell it. Wherever you get, as long as it's, to me, when I talked to Schoenberg about it, what's missing is just great storytelling, or make things. We've become so jaded. When I took my car in today, the guy, he had a sign. It was a picture of a person that has died and they're in heaven. And the guy, St. Peter says to one of the angels, goes, "What's wrong with these people here? They just keep looking at their hands, you know, because that's all you do these days." And I think we're just so transfixed with this stupid phone. Every bloody second, it's on there. Like when I told you with Bill, like an example, Bill was like I was answering my phone when we're shooting pool, and he goes, he goes, why don't you just go home? You know? And I go, because it was like the 5th time I picked it up, because I'm dealing with an idiot, you know, going back and forth, dealing with an idiot, explaining him, you know, crap I won't get into. But Bill goes, like, do you really need that thing there?
I hear you.
I go, you're right. So I put it upstairs in the kitchen, and he's like, you're jonesing for it. And I go, no, I'm just gonna not think about it. I'm not gonna. But it, in my mind, for about 15 seconds, no, 15 minutes, man, I was constantly going, what if I miss this call? Or every excuse in the book to check your phone.
That's why nobody goes to comedy clubs anymore.
It's stupid.
You get too many options of entertainment. And so as a direct result of social media, and as you were just explaining about cell phones, people have actually lost their social skills. They really have. You talk to people now, they're not that bright, you know, like at a club, some of them are downright stupid. It's just unbelievable. Everybody, you're right. They've got their noses stuck to these damn phones. And back, you know, in the 90s or any time before the cell phones came out, people could carry on a conversation, or people would go out and have a conversation, or drink, or dance, or go to a comedy club. 20 years ago on television for the full half hour, we can't do it now. And it's almost like we're so sensitive. We're so uptight. right?
No, people know they got the power. I mean, the guy got me off of
We're
my
listening to the minority is the problem.
yeah, but the thing is the guy got me off of Rogers by just saying, do you know, like I do the joke about wrestling my son as a werewolf naked.
Right.
Okay, well, first
It's
of
a good
all,
bit.
it's a great bit, but anybody with half a brain would know I made that up,
Yep.
right? It's a made up story, like
Yeah.
I'm not, so anyways, this moron, well, we did wrestle, but we're in our underwear. We weren't naked. I took it. That's what comics do. You embellish. So
Embellish it.
I
Yes.
do the whole, took my clothes off because he's naked. And meanwhile, he's in his underwear. I'm in my underwear. And anyways, this idiot goes, how can you have a guy like that on your show, on your doing a show when he's wrestling his son naked? And Rogers was just like, and I'm just like, Rogers, you are such a bunch of maggots. Like, it's just like, I broke my ass for the show, running around doing all this stuff for these idiots. And they are idiots. And they're just ungrateful, brain dead parasites, man. Absolute parasites.
Well, you know what? You knew that I did talk radio for 10 years, right? In Hamilton at CHML.
Yeah, you got in trouble or something, right?
I lost that job because I took a caller from Connecticut, and this guy had an, anti-Semitic bent to him, and I let him go because I thought, let's shine the spotlight on this cockroach, and then I'm going to rip him apart, right? So I listened to him, and then, the conversation was done, and then I laid into him. Lo and behold, 3 weeks later, the program manager calls me at home. He woke me up. He was upset. He was very upset because he had to do something that he doesn't like to do. And it's the only time in my life I was ever fired. I was let go from doing radio because a specific religious organization in Canada heard that show. Somebody heard it and said that I was allowing anti-Semitic behavior over the airwaves. You can listen to the tape back. I destroyed the guy. I ripped his argument apart. The reason I lost my job on radio, and you can look it up if you don't believe me, folks, they actually, this organization, posted on their website my pictures, CHML's logo, and the entire conversation that I did. And they even had it typed out so you could read it, right, in case you were hearing impaired, which is fine. There, the bottom of the paragraph, they actually said, although we admire, and now I'm paraphrasing, although we admire Mr. Guyot's shining the light on the cockroach, so to speak, he should have dropped the phone call 30 seconds sooner. So I said to the program director, you're firing me because of 30 seconds. And he said, Ben, I'm so sorry. The answer is yes. And from that, and that was what, 6-7 years ago, I knew then that the industry was over because 30 seconds, Vito, you're going to toss 10 years of work out the window based on 30 seconds of something I didn't even say. It was the caller who said it, but they get the bit in their teeth. The blinders are on. You just had Mike on, right? Mike Bullard.
Yeah.
Look what happened to him. Destroyed.
He
Ruined his fucking career. Over what? Something that never happened. Jean Gameshi's another one. I mean, there's an endless supply of people who have been ruined.
You should have seen what, like, I remember working the car show and seeing the, like John Gameshi's huge poster outside being ripped down. And I was just going, like, I go, oh, he's guilt. The guy's horrible. The guy's, what a creep. What is this? What is that? Then all the facts come out and you're going, the guy just liked kinky sex, and that's what cost him his job, his career.
Well, when I found out later, some of those women were, even afterward, were still sending him.
Oh yeah. They ganged photos. Up on him, Ben, they ganged up. The judge found out. They all found out. They wanted, it was like a bunch of ex-girlfriends got together and said, let's bring him down.
And they did.
And they did. And it's just their, whatever they're doing, but he's not working in the industry anymore.
No.
And it's
It
just,
used to be innocence before guilt. Now it's guilt before innocence.
yeah.
And when you have people, and now you got me lit up. And I got in trouble for this, for talking about it on radio. And I don't give a shit if I get in trouble now. Antifa.
Why can't you just disagree with somebody and just leave it at that? Why
in a civil manner?
It's like, if I don't agree with what you said, okay, I don't agree with you, but I don't have to sit there and go get on my phone and go, this is what he said. This is what I want him fired. I want that. Right. I want that. Like, why, whatever happened to just, I don't agree with you. Good luck. Yeah. And why I believe Trump won was because you should, I don't care what your political views are. I really don't, but I'm not going to sit there and go, you're a terrible person. You're a piece of garbage. You're this, you're that.
And you see a lot of that now.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to tell people where you live. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And it's just like, what's wrong with you? Just that, if people are entitled, even if the person's completely wrong, and I've been completely wrong 1,000,001 times.
And that seems to me to be the one thing that we're missing, not only in politics, we're missing it in having a civil discourse over something, and stand-up comedy, right? I mean, I keep bringing it back to comedy, I know, but stand-up comedy was the last bastion of free speech in the world. It really was.
To me,
it's under attack.
But stand-up comedy to me has always been the canary in the coal mine.
Yes.
Okay. So the only person that could make fun of the king was the jester.
Right.
Okay. So once you get rid of because he would make him humble.
Right.
Okay. You could sit there and make fun. You had to be very careful. There were some jokes you couldn't do for the king, but you could, you could do some jokes for the king, and he would laugh and he'd realize, maybe I went a little too far. Maybe, there was the whole point of, he would think about the jokes, he'd laugh, and then he'd realize, okay, it was done in a way where, who was it? It's a great thing. Remember they used to have where, this is years ago, they would have like Ronald Reagan or whoever was president, and they would have a comedian or somebody come out.
The press dinner.
Yes. And make fun of them.
Yeah.
And now they are so incredibly vicious. It's like, to me, I'm like, I mean, the one person that went on there, it just seems like you just want to go on there just so you get like a TV deal or something. Yeah. Be as rude, be as obnoxious as possible, depending on who you're attacking. And like look at late night talk shows.
I can't even watch it.
But
when
it's just
Carson died, late night died.
To me, remember Carson and I think what's his name was the last one that I used to enjoy watching. Craig Ferguson. Yeah. There was never any politics. It was always just silly, fun, because people want to get, when they're done.
Don't you find though, Vito, that, like if you're a comedian, I wouldn't want to be starting out today as a comedian, because no offense to all the comedians starting out, but they're already going on stage with one hand tied behind their back. They've had a few of the tools that are available to them taken away by this politically correct world we're living in. Whereas you and I, when we started out, you could just pretty well say and do whatever you wanted on stage. And even I find that when I go back on stage now after the pandemic, I feel like I'm starting over. I feel like, if I'm going to a gunfight, but I've only got one bullet, I'm Barney Fife. Whereas before, I had a bazooka and a tank and a plane. And now you feel constricted, limited, and I'm not as good as I used to be, because I'm letting the PC world dictate to me the terms of what I can say and do. And even though I'm going to be 60 in a month, you would think I could do and say what I want on stage, but I'm not 100% comfortable like I used to be. Is that true for you? Are you
Yeah, and
finding
that's why
that you're holding back a little bit?
I completely changed my act, Ben. You know that.
Yeah.
And I'm
But
like,
I
okay,
loved the stuff that you did at
I
Club
know, Ben, and
54. I loved it.
I remember you saying, "Do the bit," and I go, all
About
right."
the dog. Yeah.
But there were some bits that you just in this day and age you can't do, and
Well, are you not doing it, Vito, because you think the audience doesn't want to hear it,
I'm
or are
sick
you
and
doing it
tired of.
because
I just want to go. It got to the point where I wasn't having fun anymore.
I hear you? I think
Okay,
a lot of comedians would agree
and
with you on
and
that.
I always wanted just to make people laugh. Benny Hill gave this great story where he was struggling as a stand-up, so he was having such a hard time, and he wanted to get into show business. So I went to. You could walk into the BBC and talk to the president, and he handed him a bunch of like notes, scripts, and jokes, and the president looked at it before, because all of them used to go out and have like couldn't wait for 12 o'clock, so they hit the pub. So they're
Yeah.
like, he's sitting there going, all right, let's see what you got. He's looking at it. So you think you could do this show? Yes, sir. I young Benny Hill. Yes, sir, I do.
Wow.
And he's like, okay, well, sounds good. All right, I think we should do something like this. Same thing with Monty Python. Monty Python, they go, do you have an idea for a show? No. It was like the worst meeting.
You couldn't
ever.
do that show now, could you?
No.
There's no freaking way.
No. So
No. We can't laugh at ourselves anymore, Vito.
But they took away, like, my daughter loves Faulty Towers.
Yeah,
Well,
great show.
the one where he does Don't Mention the War, where he does the goose stepping one, they took that out, Ben.
Yeah.
So if you were to purchase that, that is out. That whole silly walk that Cleese used to do, that, and I remember I sent a Twitter to Eric Idle about it, and I said, whatever happened to stand-up comedy? They took away, that episode. He wasn't in it
Right.
of Faulty Towers, and he goes, I haven't a clue.
Well, if he don't know, then I don't know.
Because
right?
Because it's gotten to the point where, like, I understand that some bits, nobody's sitting there making gay jokes and you're gonna get AIDS.
Right.
And nobody's doing that. I have not been at a club where a comic has gone up there and yelled out faggots, the N-word. Well, if he's a white guy, he would never do that, but the N-word, I've never seen that, and I've seen a lot. Okay.
Well, it's infecting everything, though, Vito. Like this cancel culture, which, don't get me started on, you don't want to learn from history. As actually, it wasn't Winston Churchill. It was a woman who said it in the 18th century about if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. Right?
You will.
I don't know anybody who thinks the way that commercial is portraying us as thinking. And I'll give you an example of, I know I'm long-winded on this. I'll give you an example of just how fucked up things have become.